A reading from Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 21 and verses 31 through 34. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbiter over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "I will do this. I will put down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. Instead, strive for his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be." During my trip to Turkey, a man tried to sell me a rug. More specifically, we ended up at a Turkish carpet sales pitch disguised as a demonstration of traditional craft. The proprietor, who made the pitch, could best be described as Turkish Russell Crowe. Originally from Turkey, he grew up in Australia, and from that experience, gained the accent, gestures, and general look of Russell Crowe to an uncanny degree. I now know what it would be like if Mr. Crowe got into carpet and not acting in music. I was the wrong person for this man's pitch. Turkish carpets require an incredible amount of hand labor, and thus their cost matches the hour count. For a modest room-sized carpet, the amount comes to the several thousands to many thousands, and I'm more of a few $100 kind of impulse buyer. My growing lower middle-class sensibilities notwithstanding, the part of this experience that I still fail to shake was the pitch of the rugs as investments. In part, their construction gives them incredible longevity. The way the craftspeople weave the rugs means that the core knots of the weave get stronger, not weaker, each time one steps on them. So a century-old rug may lack the sheen of newness, but has a greater strength than one just manufactured. I found that fascinating. However, he parlayed that objectively interesting factoid into an argument that one should buy these rugs as investments, that they will only increase in monetary value over time. To buy these admittedly amazing piece of craftsmanship not only gives you and your descendants a nice object, but an investment in the future, a stored up treasure. Unfortunately, I regret to report that he may know carpets, but he doesn't represent the state of the United States second-hand rug market. Servants of Christ received 2 giant and antique Persian rugs as a donation over a decade ago. We dutifully insured them for their purchase price of over $10,000 each. If our friend Turkish Russell Crowe is to be believed, these assets should have increased in value. We came to a season as a church where our financial need outweighed our need for high-end carpets, and we hope to unlock the value. Now, Turkish Russell Crowe will gladly tell you why Turkish rugs beat Persian rugs, and maybe that explains our issue. Still, our rug expert here in Houston warned us only to expect a couple $1,000s per rug, far less than our purchase or insurance price. These rugs may be stronger than at the time of their manufacture, but as an asset, they declined in value. Hence, Jesus' words here in Luke 12 constitute not only sound spiritual advice, but sound financial advice. I've walked through too many thrift stores full of wedding dresses and fancy dishware and solid wood furniture to fully buy the argument that the nice stuff you buy in this life will only grow in value. Certainly, our progeny may find some use for our stuff. My benchtop toolbox belonged to Sydney's grandfather. My best workbench and a good chunk of my shop tools came from my paternal grandfather. Our drinking glasses belonged to my grandmother. Our son's dresser belonged to Sydney's grandmother. The armchair where I read my comic books came to us from my great-grandparents by way of my parents. We replaced one couch in our living room, a hand-me-down from my best friend, with a nicer couch, a hand-me-down from my parents. The rest of our furniture that didn't come from IKEA came from thrift stores or estate sales. Nice stuff can be enjoyed in this life and may have a use after we no longer require it. The increasing in value piece is what's fickle at best. The 17th century Dutch painter Johannes Vermeer painted some of the most valuable pieces of canvas in the world. The record sale price for a Vermeer set in 1998 was over $30 million. Yet, until the 19th century, he received little attention, and himself died in poverty and obscurity. Another Dutchman, the 19th century painter Vincent van Gogh, similarly now has works that sell in the many tens of millions, but died in depression and poverty. His works only increased in value after his death. For every Vermeer and Van Gogh, there are hundreds of sad Dutch painters who never rose to prominence and whose work may only be of passing value. One of the refrains on any of the shows where people bring in their treasures or the treasures that they inherit is that more often we overvalue what we have rather than undervalue it. For every person on Antiques Roadshow or Pawn Stars who has something unexpectedly worth a life-changing amount of money, there are dozens who thought they had something that turned out to be nothing. One can never know what will become weirdly valuable to future generations, what will increase in value, or what will just be another painting in the attic. Instead, we should follow Christ's sound financial advice: invest in God's kingdom as our legacy. When I die, I don't want my funeral to be about all the weird stuff that I've accumulated. I don't want a vintage video game, Lego, and typewriter-themed funeral. Rather, I pray that they will be able to tell of how I made a difference in the world, or in the lives of people, or in raising my family. The saddest funeral that I ever officiated started with a call from a funeral home asking me to do a service for someone that I didn't know. I went through my normal routine of trying to get to know the person, but all that anyone could tell me was that he liked John Deere tractors, watched a lot of television, and liked to gamble. I like a fair amount of TV, am sure that John Deere tractors deserve admiration, and feel that if you can afford to lose the money, go ahead and lose it at a casino. Who am I to judge? The really sad part came from the fact that even his family only had that to say. I got nothing about him as an amazing grandfather, a good father who imparted advice, or even as a strong but silent source of strength. He seemed to have invested very little in relationships, helping others, or making a difference. The sadness, for me, in that funeral service came from how few people cared that he'd gone. We all by now have internalized that we cannot take it all with us. But the parable of the rich fool pushes us beyond that. In it, Jesus asks the deeper question, more probing, about our legacy and where our most important investments lie. As it says in Luke 12, verse 20. God's voice came directly to our protagonist in that verse. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?" Our carpets or paintings by sad Dutchmen may end up at thrift stores. But our work for God's kingdom particularly the people that we've invested in, live well beyond us.